Hello everybody, welcome to the round 19 player ratings video here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel, proudly sponsored by Doing a Bit. We're coming towards the end of the year. It's starting to kick in, to be honest. I think the last month or so is where the grind of the season starts to take shape when it comes to the content and the channel. But obviously you get the excitement and the buzz of the games every week. And yeah, we need to appreciate what's happening because before we know it, we're in off-season, missing the footy dearly. For those of you that are new to the player ratings videos, welcome. Basically what happens here, I like to start the conversation around the performances of the group, really just based off their own standing in the team, point in the career of where they're at and expectations. And essentially these ratings will be used as the votes, which I'm currently tallying up. And I will reveal them at the end of the year when we do our end of year live stream celebration with the player of the year. We'll have something fun in store for you. So basically, I'll suggest a score. If you have an opinion that is contrary to the score, let us know in the comments below what the score should be and why. The why part is actually the critical part of this. It's a discussion video, and then we will go from there. So we'll do it as the team was named. So Wiedering, Young, and McGovern. It's good to be able to say the three of their names in the same team. Wiedering was a lot better than what he was last week. Third game back now. Looked to be a lot more sure of himself. Looked to be a lot more confident within his body. And it was good. He responded. He spoke about it throughout the week. I gave him an 8 for his game. It was solid. And I think he's only going to be better for it now. And he, 3 games in. Good little tune-up. We've got an important 4-game stretch coming up, and I think he's ready to go. Lewis Young, I gave him a 7. Wasn't as prolific, but didn't need to be. And that's the other thing I'm mindful of as well. You've got the 3 of them in there now. They've all got marking ability. They've all got interceptability, and they've all got defensive ability. Probably Young and Wiedering more than McGovern at this point. But yeah, no, Lewis Young was solid. Not his best game, not his worst game. Still think he did his job and then some. So I gave him a 7 for his game. Gov, first game back, it's a relief. I think the important part to remember with Gov, or that I'm remembering with Gov, is that, he's missed a lot of football. So naturally, there's a little bit of that to be mindful of. But also, this is only the 3rd game in the new role that we mustn't forget. He obviously has been moved to the back half or the defensive 50 this season. He played 2 games this year at the start of the year, got injured, and we haven't seen him since. So I'm mindful of that, but he looked good. And I guess yesterday was a bit of a glimpse for me, and I'd love to get your take on this. When I watch the Giants and I watch Harry Himmelberg, that is what I hope for McGovern. And the reason why I say that is because I think McGovern's got great hands, great mark, interceptability, and he's a beautiful kick on both sides of his body. And I think, if we can build him up, or if he can build himself up to become a guy that we want to get the ball in his hands, I think he can be a real weapon for us. Obviously, with Gov, there are injury issues that are constant, so the management of his body is important. He played 70% game time, so he was managed pretty well. I'm sure he was blowing up at stages as well. But again, just like I said with Wiedering, we've just got to get games into him, and I think McGovern is really the difference between us doing something serious this year and not. I think he's a critical part of the team. He's a good enough player, and he makes the team better. So it was really pleasing to see him back. I gave him a 7 for his game. Next up, we've got Newman, Saad, and Doherty. Newman, I gave him a 6. He had the job on Toby Green, which was interesting. I think everyone thought it would be Plowman on Green. Oh, well, I did anyway. But Newman was with Green for the majority of the game. I think Green got off the leash at times. Newman wasn't bad. He racked up a lot of the ball in the 4th quarter as we really surged away. I thought he definitely got his job done. Just not his best game, again, not his worst game, but still, move the ball forward for us. And he's got this really good ability to cut an angle with his kicking. It's something he's really improved on, and it's a real feature of his game. So I gave him a 6 for his game. Maybe that's a 7, I don't know. My gut instinct told me 6, but I'll let you chat about it in the comments. Saad, 10, mate. Alhamdulillah. Seriously, he is phenomenal. I think he's in career best form. I think this is the best that Adam Saad has ever played. And the one thing that's really elevated this season from last season, I think, the perception of Adam Saad is, he's a run and carry player and he's speed with the ball in hand. it's the speed closing down defensively, which is really shining through this season for me. When he decides to go and peel off his man and attack a contest, very rarely does he not A, get there, and B, impact/win the contest. And he has been incredible for us this season, and I think he deserves all the credit that is going to come his way. And I hope that he gets rewarded with, you know, an All-Australian consideration, at least in the squad. Like, I know it's very hard. There are a lot of halfback flankers who are in consideration for the All-Australian team, but I think Saad is easily one of, you know, he's in that top 5 bracket of the halfback flankers this season, and it's a real honour and a privilege to watch him play for the club, and I'm so happy that he's with us now. Doc, I gave him an 8. I think he was a little quiet early in the piece, but then he came to life, I think especially in the second half, and really lifted. And that probably was a story of the team. We probably weren't at our energetic best in the first half, but we lifted a little bit more in the second half and just got the job done. I gave him an 8 for his game, and you know, he continues to be super reliable for us. Then we've got Lachie O'Brien, Patrick Cripps, and Will Setterfield. Lachie O, great to see him in the team, mate. I don't think we need to doubt whether or not he should be in the side. I think 2 things. With him and Setterfield, the work rate, evident. It was great to see them. They've really improved in that aspect. The way that they work hard to keep their width is really impressive, and that's something that I think Setterfield, who we'll touch on later, has really improved on. But then also the trust of the team to give them the ball. We really utilise the wings in this game a lot more than what we've seen for the most part of this season, and I think we're at our best when we do that. I think it was a really structured performance, and I think utilising these wingers is going to be important for opening up the ground for us come, you know, not only finals time, but when we play these big teams in the next few weeks. So Lachie, I gave him an 8 for his game. I thought he was solid. I don't understand the rhetoric around the fact that I'm even bringing it up is probably stupid. I shouldn't be giving any attention to any knuckleheads that just pick on these players. Cripper, really interesting. I gave him a 9, but when you look at his stats, you think, all right, well, 34 touches, kicked a goal, should be a 10. He led the team in pressure acts. I think it was 33. So I love that part of his game. I'm not too fussed with him getting Brownlow votes or anything like that. I don't know. Maybe that is a 10. Maybe I am being a little harsh. I just felt like he didn't use the ball very well. That was the only thing that caught my attention. But nonetheless, he still was dominant on the day. He still was, I think, one of the best midfielders in the day. And yeah, maybe someone can talk some sense into me and make that a 10. But I felt like it was a 9, so I'll run with it. Setterfield, I think that was his best game in 2 years. I think that's the best game he's played since 2020. Now, you got to remember, 2020, he was our most improved player. And he's obviously gone back. 2021, not his best. This year, he's been deployed to the wing in the VFL for the majority of the year. He looked super. He looked really sure of himself, and he provides a serious element if he can replicate that type of performance, because he's tall, he can take a mark. You know, he took, what did he take? Setterfield. I think he took 8 marks for the game. Yeah, which is phenomenal, and it just relieves us around the ground. You know, 20 or 24 touches and a goal, the first goal for us for the day. Thought it was fabulous, and I'm really happy for him because he's obviously gone back, you know, clear instructions, go and work on this aspect of your game. You have to become a winger, otherwise you're not going to be in this side. And I thought that was a phenomenal performance, and it's come at the right time of the year. You know, if you want to get a spot in this team right before finals, I mean, you know, destiny is in his own hands. So good on him. I gave him a 10. That is as good a performance as I personally can expect from Will Setterfield. So good on him. I'm really happy for the way he went about it. Next up, Dirds, Walsh and Motlop. Dirds, I gave him just a pass mark. I think he and Motlop quieter in the first half, but then came to life a little bit more in the second, especially Dirds. Took a really strong contested mark against Nick Haynes, which was impressive. And then his goal was, you know, super impressive as well. And, you know, very few players get me onto my feet when I'm sitting down, and he's definitely one of them. He's coming along nicely, and he's played a lot of games this year, and it's going to be great for his development. Got to remember, it's hard to believe he's in year 2, but he still chases tackles with intent. He looks like he's got blood in his eyes every time he chases down someone, and you know that's going to be important for us at the pointy end of the season. So I gave him a pass mark. Walsh, 10. When he went down, I'll tell you what, that was just, you know, everything just flashes before your eye. Like, just the whole, it's just crazy. Like, I'm so psychotic. Like, you have so much love for these people that you don't even know personally. And when he went down, and I saw the replay, and then I saw the ankle turn, it looked a lot worse on the replay in the moment than what it did when I got home and watched it again. I feared the worst. I thought when he got up and then sat back down that he had, touch wood, he'd broken something. He couldn't put weight on it. And then, you know, you just start thinking of all the times you've seen these bad injuries, Carazzo, Cruiser, Murphy, Judd, all of them. All those memories come in, and I'm like, is he really going to be one of those players that just gets struck down like this? Luckily, he was able to get back on the field. And not only that, you sense the love for the players, especially in a moment like that. When he comes on the field, the whole crowd is just elevated. There's a bigger noise, and it really sparked the group. And they kicked a goal straight afterwards. And I guess the question with Walsh is, where do you play him? Because he can play on the wing, he can play on the outside. He looks so good on the inside. And I guess because Hewitt was out, it required a little bit more inside time for Walsh. But shit, he's good. And he's so good as an inside mid. So I don't know what the situation is moving forward. I guess it is important to have versatility. You know, if we're in a final or in a prelim or in a granny and you need someone to do some work on the inside, you know he can do it at a high level, and you know he can do it on the outside at a high level. He's just a phenomenal player. And again, very much like Saad, just grateful to have him at the club, and he's a real, you know, leader of the group. So I gave him a 10. Jesse Motlop, gave him a 3. Not his best game. Didn't quite get around it like what he has in the last few weeks, but he's so young. He's so young. He's so early in his career. And I think he's played 7 or 8 games now, which is a really good return. To be honest, I did not expect him to play this many games in his first season. So I think he's exceeded that. Just, you know, you think of him. I mean, Durden's had 1 or 2, sort of 1.5 full pre-seasons. You know, I think that is only going to benefit a guy like Jesse Motlop as well. As we come to this preseason that's coming up, I think he'll be able to get through the entirety of it. I'm not sure if the first-year players do the full preseason like the rest of the group, just because their bodies might not be ready. I'm not sure on that, but I would assume that. So you just see with Jesse, once he gets a bit more power through the body, some more power through the legs, he's already pretty strong, and he's already, you know, really crafty. He's definitely going to be a player for us, but just wasn't his best game. He'll be right. Gave him a 3. Next up, it's Harry, Jack Silvani, and Charlie Curnow. Harry, I gave him a 9. He kicked 2 goals, 3, took 10 marks, you know, had 18 possessions. It's actually a pretty good game. Interesting with Harry, when he's up the ground taking marks along the wing, he seems to attack the ball a lot harder than when he's on the lead inside our forward 50 taking a mark. And there's a real frustration with him, because I think on the one hand, it's like, is he being officiated correctly? And sometimes he really cops it, and it's really tough. I guess what I'd love to see from Harry is the way he attacks the ball on the wing when he's going up for a mark. If he can replicate that same attack on the footy when he's on the lead inside our forward 50, and try and be stronger than the arm chop that's coming through, I think that's where he'll start taking more of those grabs. He's got a beautiful set of hands on him. He had a really good game. It was a good response. And the other thing I liked about his game was he took some ruck hitouts as well. Some ruck contests, and had some hitouts, I should say. He had 5 of them. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think wrestling in the forward 50 from a throw-in or a ball up in our forward 50, it's not going to hurt him. I think he's big enough and strong enough, and it relieves Tom de Koning, who in this case was allowed to stay 1 kick behind the play on Bruce, while I think it was like Briggs or one of the other boys for the Giants was, you know, contesting that ruck battle. So I think that is an important part of Harry's game moving forward. And, you know, it also gets him in the thick of it. It gets him where the ball is. And yeah, but it was a better performance after a you know, not so good one last week from him. And I gave him a 9. Jack Silvani, I toyed with the 7 and an 8. Benefit of the doubt, I don't know. I felt like 7. I'll let you talk about it. He was solid. And I said this, I think, a few weeks ago. The beauty of Jack is he always finds, you know, that minimum standard of play. He's so reliable now. And I think he's just finding that real consistency in his game. And it's a pleasure. So gave him a 7. Charlie gave him a 10. He's just dynamite. He really is. He's, you know, I don't take any game for granted with him. I don't forget the feeling of not knowing whether or not he would play, let alone play at a level anywhere near what we had seen from him. And he's in career best form. This is the best of Charlie Curnow, and you would think that he's got some improvement to come as well. He's just solid. Yeah, he's just he must be just loving it as well after missing so much footy, and to be able to consistently impact the way he has. It's a delight for him and all the work that was put into getting him to this point. So gave him a 10. Next up is De Koning, Kennedy, and Chera. De Koning, I thought overall he was probably beaten on the day, in the ruck matchup. I think Bruce got the better of the matchup. Bruce is a big boy. He's a really, really big, strong boy. We had the 36 hit-outs to De Koning's 12. But take nothing away, Tom always, puts in the effort there. And I would be very curious to see how that matchup plays out had we had Mark Pittonet in the side. Because I think Pitto's strong enough to match the strength battle with Bruce. And then, a fresher De Koning in more of a spurt, I think would be a nightmare for not only Bruce, but for any ruck tandem. So, yeah, I gave Tommy, I still thought he got his job done. I liked his work at ground level. I think there was a play, might have been late in the game. It was beautiful. He sort of roved the ball, had the handball option, but didn't take it, and then just put the kick inside 50 to Harry Mackay, which was a really impressive bit of vision, for us to be looking at. So I gave him a 6 for his game. Matt Kennedy and Adam Chera are next. I gave them both 9s. Kennedy just, he started to really trend upwards again. I think his last 2 to 3 games, he started to find his form again after a bit of a holding pattern sort of in that middle part of the year. But yeah, he looks solid. I know he's at his best when he's taking marks around the ground. He took 3. When he's usually at that 5 to 6 mark, he's really at his best. But no, he was great. 27 touches, was solid, used the ball relatively well, and stepped up in the way that we needed him to. So I gave him a 9. Chera, I also gave him a 9. He had the 27. He was just solid. We needed him to just continue to step up. And I think now this is his 3rd game back in a row. So again, continuity is important. Finding his role, getting more comfortable. And the beautiful part of Ches is I read the piece throughout the week, or sort of on the Friday, about no ego, and no one's got the ego, and it's not about the stats, and just being totally willing and accepting of the role in the team. I think he's just a beauty for us in his attitude to the game and the club. So I gave him a 9 for his game. Then we go to the bench. Plowman, Fisher, Cottrell, and Honey. Lockie Plowman, have a 10, son. That was great. I don't understand the rhetoric at times, and I don't even like giving it attention because it just maybe even compounds a problem. And I don't know. It's just uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to see people hang shit on players in a season like this, in a season like last year and the year before, where there was just, as a whole, almost negligible performances. I kind of almost get it, but not in a year where we're now 12-6. I just don't understand it. And not in a situation where Marchbank is not available at the time. Zach Williams is not available at the time. These players are not available. So Plowman has to play. It's crazy. But more importantly than anything else, he was fucking sensational. 18 touches at 100%. Very interesting to see that, because I initially thought he would play on Toby Green, and it was sort of between him and Stocker for that position. But it turns out with Mitch McGovern back in the side, Newman playing the lockdown role, kind of allowed Plowman to be a bit more of an offensive player, which, to his credit, I don't see that often. I don't think of that when I think of his game. But he was very good. I think also, moving forward, what's the situation going to be when Marchbank is fit and available? What do we do there? It's a tough one, but it's a good situation to have happen to the group. I think the other thing as well, Marvel, you can hear a lot more than the MCG. Mate, Lockie Plowman, I'd love to know whether he has a voice after a game. He is constantly on the talk, constantly screaming, directing traffic. It's, it's really good to see. And I guess you don't see it when you're on the TV, but, I actually had someone in the chat on the fan cams saying Plowman should be dropped after that, and then admitting that they didn't watch the game. Just knuckleheads. Smarten up. Come on. He was fantastic, and I gave him a 10. Zack Fisher's next. I gave him an 8. I thought he was also fantastic. He just looks to be covering the ground a lot better than he ever has. And it's no surprise what happens when you get continuity. You know, touch wood, he's played most games this season. I think nearly every game this season. He's getting fitter. He's getting stronger. He's getting more confident. And I noticed him a lot more in defensive 50, helping, you know, with that release to get the ball surging forward again, you know, really helping out his teammates there. I'm not sure if that's because it's a different role or if it's just because he's just more available and more engaged, but I love to see it. He's having a great year. This is definitely the best season of Zack Fisher, and I'm just stoked for him. Cottrell's next. I gave him a 10. His work rate always shines through. And the fact that he's kicked 2 goals as well, like, I don't expect that from him, but the fact that he gave it to us was awesome. Took his set shots beautifully, converted them, focused, and that's important. You've got to convert your opportunities. Not everyone did convert their opportunities, but he certainly did. So, again, good way for him to respond after a bit of a down game last week. And I'm glad that we didn't have the knee-jerk reaction and drop him, because I thought the 3 weeks prior to last week, he was outstanding. So here's another one that's having a career best year. And it's no surprise that we're a better side when you've got some of these guys, you know, 4 or 5 of them that are having the best seasons of their career. So well done to Cotters. And then Josh Honey, I'll be honest, I thought he was a little lucky to be in the side. I was a little surprised to see him come in. I didn't think his form warranted that, but that's the reminder that, you know, we sit on this side. We don't know what the instructions are on the inside. And I'm always mindful of that. And I thought he was sensational. I thought he was the best of all the smalls on the day between himself, Motlop and Durden. Got a bunch of the ball, 14 touches, kicked a nice goal as well, an opportunistic goal, looked engaged. And, you know, if he's that's kind of the level that we need Josh Honey at for him to stay in the side. And I think ultimately when it comes down to it, it's probably going to be like a Jack Martin for Josh Honey for one position. That's my sense. I don't know that to be a fact, but that's my sense. And if Josh Honey's playing like that, it's hard to keep him out of the side. So I gave him a 9 for his game. Maybe that's a little bit harsh. Maybe I should give the young fella a 10. I don't know. You let me know in the comments. And that's the ratings. Good win. Solid win. I think for the most part, we played at 75% of our best. And we still won by 6 goals. So that's not something that I'm used to seeing at all. But an important 4-week stretch coming up. Let me know what you thought about the ratings. And again, if you have any changes, start the debate and discussion. What should be changed and why? And we will go from there. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the win. And go the Mighty Blues.